Hey everyone, it's time for another question on the Grief and Loss Q&A segment. Today's question is, why are people so afraid to be with loss? Why are people so afraid to be with loss? Well, I don't have to tell you that we live in a culture of perkiness, right? Everyone wants to be happy and everyone wants you to be happy. Now, when you are grieving a loss, you look depressed, you walk around looking and feeling mopey, you don't want to participate in life as it is because you've become something different. You've become someone who's changed by the event of loss. And that's hard for most people to accept. They just want you to get over it so they can go back to being happy. They don't have to be in this space where they feel uncomfortable. They're being called on to say and do things that they clearly don't know how to do. So if you could go back to being happy, it would just help them feel more comfortable. So the very first reason is that we live in a culture of perkiness. We want to be happy and we want others to be happy. We have little tolerance for unhappiness, sadness, grief, and loss. The second reason is that loss represents loss of control, right? When somebody dies, there is nothing to say that will fix it. There's nothing to do that will fix it. There's nothing you can really tangibly do or say that is going to make a difference to someone who's grieving. So most people, having been trained in what to do, they find themselves feeling distinctly uncomfortable when they're called on to just be. Most people don't know what it is to just be, to occupy the space, the sacred space of beingness. And so oftentimes when encountered with someone's loss, they feel and see this loss of control. They begin to understand that in an instant, life can change. Things that we value, things that are precious to us, people that are precious to us can be taken away in a moment, and everything about life can change. And that really pushes them into the zone of zero control, which is a very difficult space for most people to be in, because so much of our lives, think about it, is built and organized around being in control. Preparing for retirement, saving enough money for a rainy day, planning our vacations, taking a job that brings us enough income to pay the bills. And I'm not saying any of this is wrong. There's nothing wrong with any of this. But when we become too attached to being in control and sort of, embracing this idea that we control our lives, we figure out how things will run. And as long as we do enough to stay in control, life will be okay. That is the trap, because life doesn't work like that. Change happens anyway. The third and final reason is there is no deadline with grief, right? There is no linear timeline. Grief doesn't progress in a certain way. You're not going to be done with grief by next Wednesday or even 2 months down the road. And people, again, it goes back to this sense of control that people want. Because we love control, we love being in charge, we love solutions, we fail to understand this thing called grief that just lasts for however long it lasts. It's different for different people. People grieve differently. Grief lasts for as long as it needs to. But every person, every soul has to process this experience individually and make sense of it. And this makes most people very, very uncomfortable because there is nothing they can do to make it better, or to fix it, or to help the person feel better. When we are in grief, we don't always know what helps us feel better. And when people know exactly what they have to do, they feel a sense of control. But with grief, there is a complete absence of control. because most often people don't know what will work. And the same thing that worked yesterday may not even work 2 days from now, right? You all know this if you're grieving. Our moods are different, our temperaments are different. It's almost like the changing sky. In the morning you feel good, you have a laugh with a friend, and by afternoon you're having a complete meltdown and you can't explain why, leave alone help someone else understand why you're going through what you are and how they can help you. So these are some of the reasons that people find it really hard to stay with us in the space of loss. I hope that answers your question. Now, if you're liking this Q&A segment that I'm doing, the video series that I'm doing, you can go over to my website, umagirish.com, and the link is right on top of this video. And when you go to the home page, as you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you will find my e-course, which is called Responding to Grief and Loss. And it is just an audio course. It's me taking a bunch of questions that were sent to me by people and responding to them. And they have been divided into different segments with different titles. So there are, I think, 6 to 8 different segments and questions under each of those segments. They deal with all kinds of issues like talking to children about loss. What is hospice and how do you make a decision like that? How do you find time to grieve when you're living a busy life? How can you create rituals in the grief experience? I've taken a whole bunch of questions and converted them to an audio course called Responding to Grief and Loss. And you should find that on the home page of my website, umagirish.com. And the link for that is right on top, right here. So be sure to click on the link and visit my website. If you have a question or would like to leave a comment, do that right below in the comment box, and I'll pop in later and answer them. Thank you for watching, and I'll come back with another question tomorrow. Until then, take care. Bye for now.